Hello, and welcome to our summer session of COM 3350, Leadership Communication. My name is Dr. Annette Hamill, and I will be your professor for this course. The purpose of this video is to give you an overview of the course, to let you see and hear me, and to outline some of my expectations for the semester. So please watch this video in its entirety in order to get a good orientation to our course. In the next few minutes, I'll go over the course content, the building blocks and components that will make up our course. I'll talk a bit about my course policies and procedures that you'll need to know, and I'll give you an overview of what sections of the e-learning site that we'll be using the most. Before we go any further, I'd like to debunk some misconceptions that students sometimes have about online courses. The first one is sometimes students expect online courses to be easier than face-to-face courses, and they're not. They can actually be even more challenging. When I teach classroom sections of the course, we go over the same material that we do in the online section, but you won't have the discipline of going to a classroom on a regular schedule, so you'll need to budget your own time for the course. Also, keep in mind that a summer course is the same amount of material that you would normally get in a 15-week semester, compressed down into half the time. So we're basically doing 2 weeks worth of material in 1 week in a summer term. So the schedule is pretty heavy and moves rapidly. The second misconception students sometimes have is they think an online course will take them less time than a face-to-face course. This is also not the case. When you consider that in the face-to-face section, you'd be in the classroom 2 to 3 hours a week, and then you would be spending time outside of that doing readings, preparing for quizzes, doing assignments. You should budget at least that amount of time for working on your online course. The benefit to the online format is that you get to choose when that time is, and you can work at home in your pajamas in the wee hours of the morning if you want to. But you will still need to budget and devote the time to the course. And the third misconception is that sometimes students think online courses mean you can work at your own pace. That is not the case in this course. This course will have weekly assignments and deadlines that we'll talk about in just a moment. So I encourage you to take out your planner, whether that is a paper notebook or something you do on your phone, and write in the due dates and think about how much advance time you'll need to do the assignments. When you look at the schedule page of the syllabus, you'll see that this course has weekly readings in our textbook. You have weekly assignments. Sometimes these are discussion boards, sometimes these are small written assignments, and sometimes they're exams. So you'll notice that we have due dates every week, and in the case of a discussion board, there are 2 deadlines during the week. So my recommendation is that you look at that schedule page of the syllabus and put those dates in your calendar right away so you can plan to meet those deadlines. Our textbook for this course is called Leadership: A Communication Perspective by Hackman and Johnson. Specific information on this textbook can be found at the bottom of the first page of the syllabus. There you'll find the ISBN number and other information you might need for getting your hands on this book. Now, the WMU bookstore has it, online retailers have it, you may even find copies of it out there online. They're in the 7th edition right now that has a brown cover. I prepared this class from the 6th edition, pictured here. They are quite similar in content. So as far as I'm concerned, you can use either the 6th or 7th edition. The 6th edition, since it's older, you might be able to find it at a more affordable price than the 7th. In the end, I don't really have a preference for which edition you use. Now let's talk about how we're going to use e-learning in the course. You'll want to sign on to the e-learning site every week. Click on the content menu and look at the module list to see which module we're doing that week. When you click on that module and look at what's inside of it, you'll see your readings and assignments for the week. So look over all the contents and make a judgment as to how much time you think it's going to take, even if you're not going to start working on it right away. Then it will allow you to envision the amount of work you'll have in the days ahead and what you'll need to do to complete things by the Sunday night due date. Here is a screenshot for one of the home pages of one of my courses. I wanted to point out certain items on the menu to you. These are the items that you'll be using most often in this course. You see the 3 arrows that are pointing to the menu selections. Starting on the left, the content menu, this is where you'll find the weekly modules. So if you click on content, it will take you to a page that lists all of the modules. You can then click on the module you want, and it will show you all the contents inside that module that you'll need for completing that week's assignments. The second arrow is pointing to the communications menu. This is where you will find discussion boards. So if the assignment for the week is to complete a discussion board, that's where it will be located. And then thirdly, the arrow on the right is pointing to the assessments menu. And that is where you'll find the quizzes or exams and the drop boxes where you will upload written assignments. Please never send me written assignments over email. Don't send them to me as email attachments. They need to go in the Dropbox, so they're all in the same place. I can grade them right from the Dropbox, and the Dropbox serves as an archive and collection point for all of the assignments in the class. So it's as if I have all the student papers in one spot if you submit them through the Dropbox. So please remember to do that. This is the schedule page of the syllabus. You'll find this on page 8. And our schedule for the summer 1 semester is laid out in a grid or table format that should make it easy for you to navigate. I want to explain what is in each column and row of this table. On the left, you see the module number that corresponds to the modules on e-learning. So if you want to go into, say, Module 3, you'll click on the Module 3 folder in e-learning, which would open up and then have these contents within it that pertain to that week. In the second column here, you see the dates. It has the end date for the module. Now, there may be a due date during the week as well, but that's the day the module totally closes, and I'll explain that more in a moment. In column 3, you have the topic of the week, so that tells you the subject matter we'll be studying. Column 4 says read. That tells you what chapters of the text you'll need to have read for that week. Now, it's a lot of reading. We're going to be moving quickly, so I really encourage you to keep up on the reading. There are video lectures to accompany each chapter, but in those I highlight certain important concepts in the chapter, and I use them as an opportunity to give you more detail and examples of things, but they do not take the place of the reading. So the reading should take precedence. I encourage you to make a special effort to keep up on the reading. Then you'll see in the last column it says assignment, and it says always see task list for particulars. Inside each module there's something called a task list, which gives you detailed instructions on how to complete the week's assignment. So you'll want to open up that task list to see how to do the assignment. But this table is just a brief summary of what's due and when it's due. So looking at week 1, you'll see that there are a couple of things going on. First of all, there's a syllabus quiz you need to take by Sunday, but you'll see there's a discussion board as well, and that has 2 deadlines, Wednesday and Sunday. Discussion boards always have 2 due dates, Wednesday and Sunday. The Wednesday is for your original post, and the Sunday is for your replies to your classmates. So please take a note that on those weeks you have discussion boards, you're going to have a Wednesday due date and a Sunday due date. So looking through the schedule here, you can see that we're going to have discussion boards in weeks 1, 2, and 5. So those weeks are going to have the Wednesday and Sunday deadlines. You'll see that in weeks 3 and 6, you have something called a checkpoint that is a short written essay that you prepare individually and upload to the Dropbox. And then you will see that we have a midterm in week 4 and a final exam in week 8. I'd like to point out something about the final exam in week 8. It ends on a Wednesday. The summer 1 session ends on a Wednesday, and the summer 2 session starts on that Thursday. So there's no break in between there. I've given you as long as I possibly can to complete that final exam, but the summer 1 term will be over on Wednesday. So from here, please explore the e-learning site, examine everything in the Start Here module, and please watch all videos in their entirety. Go to Module 1 and start the course, complete this week's assignments. Remember that there's a syllabus quiz and a discussion board this week, and that discussion board has 2 due dates. Contact me if you have any questions. Email is always going to be the best way to get a hold of me during the summer session, because I'm going to be spending a lot of time working remotely and won't be going into my campus office very often. However, I'm happy to meet with you over WebEx. So if you would like to have a one-on-one meeting, you can sign up on Calendly. The link is on the first page of the syllabus, and choose a time when we can both talk over the internet. I'm happy to do that, so don't hesitate to request a WebEx meeting if that seems best to you, or send me an email. Okay, good luck. I'm looking forward to working with you this semester, and I hope to hear from you soon. Take care.